Okay, let's start the stream. So I started registering like a few minutes ago, so I have a couple games running, but not quite enough yet. Great price on the bottom left. Peel the flop. Speciality is sort of most of the suited hands in such situations you can be calling. Or basically you can call pretty much everything considering the pot odds there was, but of course some total crap offsuit hands are so unplayable basically that you are trying to then hit some sort of two pair basically post flop, so I wouldn't call like total garbage. Actually played yesterday that one MTT 25 euro one got into final table actually. I think it was 5 or 6 handed and had pretty classical setup, pocket kings versus aces as middle stack versus chip leader, so that was pretty nasty ending. Like when you get the kings to the cutoff and you hope that you get some action, and then you see that the chip leader shoves and you have the great chance to double up and happy to call, and then he flips over aces. Yeah. But yeah, that's the way of the MTTs. €25. There is just 2 people currently. There is actually €50 game. €50 game that started. The top left we can't really set mine. I suppose calling is still decent option because we are in position. The open razor and the hand is like on the borderline that it has some playability, but obviously when the 3-bet comes behind we have to fold. This 10 guy went totally crazy here. This cup is pretty close. I would say that folding would definitely be a good option as well. try to make small C, but it's not the most connected board. 10 is always a bit crappy one, because if he had something, then it might be improving him, but considering the price, I think I call with on the turn. Sometimes we might be good as well. So calling again is not going to be option without improving. Standard call on the bottom left, and we can easily call again with the pair and not flush draw and not straight draw. Unfortunately, nothing improves. Well, how to fold. That's how the combo draw tends to be. They look really great, but that's all they do. But yeah, there was like 30% chance to improve. I will actually go for kind of thin value on the bottom left, some protection at the same time. It's very rare to get raised in those situations. €50 game. I hope that we'll land on triple barrel. I've called twice here with the crappy ace. Oh well. I mean, that sort of crappy ace, it's like relatively close to the bottom of the turn calling range. So against sizable third barrel, it's very reasonable to give up. There was also King Jack completed on the river. Kind of nasty spot on the upper right with how big of the C-bet. We landed. And let's try to bluff. I don't love the. I actually don't that often try to bluff with those busted flush draws, but probably doesn't hurt to do it once in a while. bet force bit over 20 ppd would be okay to shove. Set wasn't enough. That hand was doomed to lost hood, so to say. Let's raise the crappy stuff to try to punish the SP limper, but that was quick hand, very bad flop. And especially with this button calling, this is pretty nice spot to be shoving with the ace queen. Makes my risk reward way better. We were actually sailing for the first time with our new boat. Got it quite like I think less than a week ago. But it was pretty nice experience. We actually had the old boat for a few years, but it was in the repairs for two previous summers. So let's see, but here our hand is decently often best, but it's also kind of vulnerable one. But it will suck if the opponent's crazy in that spot. And awesome call by the villain on the top left. King 3 suited, not really strong enough. There is some merit in also just min raising the king queen and calling against 3-bets. Though the induced part is probably bit minus EV in itself, but there is the upside that the king queen will be playing pretty nice post up. So those times they call your min raise is going to be okay in the long run. Well, a bit crappy spot, but without any reads about the opponent, and I don't remember him 3-bet shoving so far, so let's just give up here. Hopefully small blind calls, but he doesn't. Would have been the chance to get to heads up. Standard 4 PP open raise. Well, definitely not shoving ace 4 here. Most likely I don't have any fold equity. Well, nice flop. Lucky in unlucky spot. And won the flipped here. And my bluff with the gutshot didn't work. Definitely raising and planning to raise call if he happens to limp shove. And that's not actually working. There's some problems in the table 1, 2. These other tables are actually working for the tuning part. Outside that the main issue is that when this other table overlaps, then it's not as nice. Definitely shoving the pocket 3s a smaller stack on the bottom right. And some quick action on the outer table. Pretty much first hand. The guy just shove here. There is quite a lot of. Oh Jesus. Well, that was unlucky decision to just call the flop, villain hitting the 2 outer. Oh well. Well, some luck on the upper right, though it's basically set up spot. I was actually thinking about just flatly limping and kind of trapping, as it was decent suited ace, so it had some playability and so on. I think I just raise here, and I have so much equity here on the flop, and it's pretty dry. fold with the ace-4 on the upper left, because like if I'm in raise, small blind has nice chance to abuse the situation. I have to fold, and also if the small blind folds and big blind shoves, it's not really a great situation overall. And let's just check and hope he had some sort of weaker pair or something. That was the case, and ace-9 obviously going to stack off. It's really unlikely we'll lane plays like that with better hand most of the time. Yeah, some total garbage. I was mostly worried about some sort of draw most of the time. Of course, now and then he might have like 2 pair, but it's pretty rare way to play those. And we actually hit the 7, which is kind of strong, though it does complete 4-5 straight as well, but I think I go for value bet. Hopefully he doesn't check raise. I think I just look to check back, like even if he has just 6 or 3 or some 7, 7-5, well 7-5 probably would call still, but if he has weaker 6 or 3, it's not guaranteed at all that I would get value anymore, and he might be slow playing something, and so trapping I don't really mind that much. Well, he was trapping, but we were ahead. Queen 4 is actually quite close in the Nash, I think, but even a bit outside here. I just go for open shove with the pocket 6s, and let's hope that small blind doesn't wake up at least. Queen jack is actually something you can also limp call if you want, but yeah. It's nice hand overall as limping hand often, because it has nice playability, and it's going to be good enough to induce, especially with those shorter stack sizes. Nine six. Well, it would be 5.2 against good player. I wouldn't shove, but let's shove anyway. I think if it's like if you are against decent opponents and you have these shallow stacks, you don't really want to go over the Nash range most of the time. This would actually be the call in the Nash, but I suppose 8 jack is actually pretty decent to check shove if we want to have any bluffs. Also blocking the queen jack from the villain. And ace-2 is pretty standard min-raise fold. This was actually the €50 game. Just noticed it. Well, I think I try to see bet here and hopefully villain folds. It's extremely dry flop. Well, this is a spot where you can consider the call and so on, but let's just give up. Yeah. And the upper left king jack is just too strong to be folded. And lost flipped here. Oh well, nasty setup. Wasn't extremely happy of the spot because he was min raising and he had been pretty passive so far, so increases the chance that he has something good, but at the same time we had like 7 big blinds or something. So I don't really like the option to fold either. I'm not totally sure, it's really close with the ante, I think. Lost the flip and lost with the live hand on the next one pretty much. Now this looks great. Hopefully small blind wins. Straight. Oh well. Kind of nasty hand again. Like if it was folded to me that do you want to shove or not. Well, this is no-brainer, shove and hope for best. Well, situation looks good. Don't fold, thank you. 2 outer for the villain. It's actually a spot where I can international shove very easily. Let's hope that the villain doesn't wake up or make some sort of stupid call. Well, I could make small call line as well, but I think Tony P is probably decent enough that it should show clear profit as well. He's kind of wreck, but he's not really that great, but let's have some respect anyway. Well, flop is great. It's kind of close that I could have also limped with the 9-10. I think I need to call here, folding would be somewhat weak. Well, let's give up. Pretty weird looking line though, but shoving here with just cutsut is pretty ballsy play. think he has quite often 3x, but does he fold is the other question. 2-6. Okay, he doesn't fold. The upper left mandatory bit here. Then 4 is not quite enough to shove. Let's see if we could get the flop. 9-5, I think it's okay in the Nash, and Ace-5 I have to call. And woo, we won. Nice moment for winning the practical flip. Okay, it's €25 one start, so let's take that one. Well, that was actually €25 on the outer table as well. Let's limp trap with King Jack. Pretty much no point to bet on the flop. What the? Thank you very much. Oh Jesus. Pocket jacks. That should have been pretty much the last hand of the... Wow. Well, awesome line. Awesome line here. And then he didn't even value bet at any point. Let's try to make delayed c-bet here, so I don't have anything to go on with my hand, but maybe it looks strong. And second placed here on the... Oh well, and the flush draw completed also on the upper left. Yeah, I don't really like to call here such a hand that it almost never improves, and it's pretty coordinated board as well. Nine wasn't really great. I suppose this would be a decent spot to perhaps check raise, because it's pretty tough to get. Like maybe he would call with king high, maybe. But I was blocking also the a high that is most likely to call, so. I mean, if he has the 9, he's going to bet it anyway, so. And way ahead, No 10, thank you. That was nice setup. Nice setup. Well, we hit 10, but I wasn't really drawing for one on the upper right. So I didn't try to see, but if there was like some of the those 3, 7, 8 that we can consider, or 8 is kind of bad, but some turns that we could double barrel, but it's not the greatest flop to see. But overall, against the small blind in general. Okay, let's take €10. €10 games. Pretty sizable c-bet on the upper right, but at the same time I think folding middle pair with some backup from the straight draw possibility would be kind of tight. Okay, major challenge is that I would need to get turn and river that are the same number, so like for example on the bottom right that river would need to be the 6, so that's not going to complete in a long time. Going to check call most likely if he bets. And in the Unibet, when the villain is sitting out, you can also limp, and if he doesn't come back, he will automatically fold. Which is, in my opinion, pretty nice feature. And pro min 3-bet from the big blind move. Pretty much the crappiest possible hand to play against 3-bets, but when the villain min 3-bet, I'm not folding anything. go for small c-bet, and we can try to double barrel if we get some extra equity, but he goes for the raise. That would have actually been pretty nice, but to bluff river sometimes. These upper right spots are something that I don't actually mind to make sort of overshove, because pocket 8s I don't really want to just limp, but making like 210 or 240 and playing out of position pretty much suck as well, so I don't mind to just shove it here, and most of the time to take the pot down. And at the bottom right we actually hit the trips on extremely dry flops, so let's just call here. And now we have the quads. Well, he might not have anything, but let's hope he rolls with something like a high or something. Oh, he actually had the 9. That was quite conservative. Most of the time people would be just thrilling to get the chips in with hand like that. Thrilling is probably wrong way to say it. Thrilled. That sounds better. You can open those crappy offsuit hands from the offsuit aces from the cutoff, but I don't really love them that much. This Gelatulos guy seems to be on the at least 3 tables. That's something that you can follow when you play in the Unibet, that if someone is in the multiple tables, the chance that they are regular increases at least. Well, that is decent flop. Trying to go for check raise. And queen jack suited we can call it here. And yeah, if I make it v550 and he calls, so I can pretty nicely shove the turn, unless it's diamond. That pocket aces would actually be really nice hand for the villain to just flat my check raise, because Obviously, when I check raised here, I'm going to do it mostly with something better than top pair for value, and he actually blocks the quite reasonable bluffing hand when he has the ace. So pretty crappy flop in a way. Now it looks better. I check call. It's going to be tough to get any weaker than 10x pair to call if I bet again, and if I check, I at least allow him to bluff if he had some sort of straight draw. Pretty small sizing. Stack size is a bit awkward to go for 4-bet. Let's make it decently sizable, hope that he has something. King was a bit crappy. He actually had pocket pair. It was decent possibility. Vote Lordenmore. Sounds like Harry Potter fan. Pretty good situation going on in the upper right. At this point at least. Well, let's go with the 3-bet this time on the. Let's hope that he doesn't 4-bet shove. That's a downside of doing it with that sort of. Yeah. And he does. On the top left, Willen has AX quite often, but we can try to bluff now and then. Oh well. Of course, he has his check. Well, that's definitely not folding. 9-8 suited is pretty okay to solve as well. And that is the nuts on the turn. Call with the queen 10. Solid stuff. Solid stuff. That's something you definitely want to see when you play whatever the game is. He didn't fold. Would have been great spot to keep, at least if the big blind was coming back, it seems. If he was staying blinded out, it would have been great spot to just keep shoving all the time. Let's give small blind chance to bluff if he had some sort of float going on, and not on the top left, but luckily I sucked out. Seems to be better run today. Better run today on the SNGs. Well, let's just shove. I suppose most people should be decent enough to understand to fold extremely big portion of their hands. Oh, well, ace queen. Good for my range, but not really for my current hand that much. If I had king jack of spade, it would be nice to shove it here, but I think I just give up with plain. With the plain king jack. That was unfortunate. Mid-stack waking up with monster. Don't love the situation with the ace-10, but I think that guy is sort that he might be 3-betting light often enough to go with that spot. think it's pretty close with the pocket fours, but at least if this one player is sitting out, it should be worth fine to ship it. And we also have the Gutshot now. Nice river. The top left. Let's put some heavy pressure on the bottom left. And he folds luckily. Decided to just check on the top left to keep some solid check calling hand in my range. Because if I bet that, then I pretty much never have the ace when I check. Well, didn't get chance to check raise on the bottom right, but let's bet the turn then. Oh, free turn on the top left and hitting the straight. Hopefully he doesn't have the king queen at least. That would shock. And blank river, so this if something is definitely shoving spot. A lot of busted draw possibilities and we have the practical nuts. But unfortunately he folds. Let's not fold out that ace queen. Six tabling and almost sitting out. Queen 10 is kind of nasty because I was pretty clear mid stack, so not sure. Might be okay to shove as well. And king 10 definitely shoving on the top left. Let's just lean on the heads up. That doesn't look too good. Oh, I accidentally just called. Well, that workout outcome was not the greatest, so yeah, I wouldn't usually be limping ace king here. If you want to trap, you should mainly use big pocket pairs. And sometimes balance it out with some garbage hand. Let's bet on the bottom left. This is actually a pretty nice spot to bet the river as well. If we had called, we had so many value hands here. And really nasty setup on the outer table. Ace jack versus ace queen. And not sure what happened here, but I think we won. And mandatory shove pretty much. So this guy has been sitting out all the time, so this is kind of spot that we want to just be shoving all the time and hope that this guy doesn't wake up or do something stupid. Even the most idiotic player, well, this is actually hands that we can try to induce something. Might be a bit face up, but obviously Villain doesn't necessarily know that is our plan, so you don't want to level too much that okay, if I make this then he must read it that I have the nuts and so on. Have to remember always the sample size. This is just one game. Villain probably doesn't know who we are, so I can't really call with the pocket deuces on the bottom left. Something like pocket fives would probably be the pretty much the bottom. Only nasty part is that I can't fold out to the small stack because he's in such position, so I can't prolong the bubbles, but now hopefully small blind will win and we can further abuse the situation. That seems bad. Well, he did win. That's one situation when you hope to lose the hand. Those are pretty rare. Those are pretty rare. Even here we can shove its spots where it's pretty nasty for the small blind to call without having really big hand. And we will probably increase the possibility that the small stack stays alive. Well, that went pretty nice. We are now in 3-1 chip lead. 3-1 chip lead. More or less. The upper right, this is actually a decent spot to limp shove if the villain raises. And 7-9 shooter, I will just open shove, it's definitely plus EV. Like the nice thing about this sort of line is that there is huge amount of hands better than our that can be folding. And even if this happens, we have like 40% equity, so it's not total disaster. The good thing is that we are like, unless the villain has of course like some pocket pair, we are going to be in decent shape most of the time. And had to put that fucking king on the river. King 4 call against what? So it was like 13, 14 PP shove, so I think 13 PP, that's pretty optimistic, I would say. Basically call that I wouldn't personally make. Like sure, my range is somewhat capped, but I don't think it's really. It's basically like absolutely break even at best, probably. So personally not that big of fan for that sort of call. Well, let's just call for the cheap price. We probably have the best hand quite often. There is decent amount of draws. I think we want to just shove on the bottom left and see if he calls. If he has the better hand, then yeah, it's pretty nasty to bet fold either, in my opinion. And pretty much mandatory call on the top left, at least if he doesn't make some over bet. Yeah, I'm still calling here. Six-five is pretty mandatory open shove. And 5 is enough. Ace 10 snap call. Hopefully no 4. Some really nice run good going on. I really don't mind that. It has been pretty rare situation overall. I suppose on the bottom left you can do either way, but I think I just call. I definitely want to keep some of these stronger hands in my check calling range, so that even if we lay like triple barrels, I have pretty solid hand to go call down. Using Mynton case can be tricky sometimes. This guy seems to really like those open shoves with 30 big blinds. Not something I would personally do with, well, basically anything. Like even small to medium pocket pairs, I would just min raise that deep. In somewhat interesting way that he hasn't been 3-bet shoving single time, I think, against my min raise. Even though he is constantly making those open shoves. I think I need to call the a6. I'm not, of course, thrilled about it, but and we lost. That's the reason why I'm not thrilled about it, because most of the time you are going to be at like 55% equity favorite, so it's not really that great, but at the same time it's not that guaranteed that I will get much better spot either by waiting. Unfortunate lose on the bottom left. Dominating hand. Now 7-10 should be pretty fine in the NAS as well. Up to 9 big blinds. Very standard shove with the 15 big blinds or so. Interesting turn card. Hopefully he doesn't shove. I don't know if I can fold here because he had aces, but I hit one of those. One of those outs. Easy when you run. Good. Not really happy about that spot, obviously, but I don't know. Like even against the aces, I will have 5 outs to trips or 2 pairs, and 10, 8 outs to the straight, so 13 outs. And as I said, he might sometimes have some sort of flush draw, or he might have like ace jack, I think was the straight draw possibility and so on. So it's not like I will always be behind. I think queen 10 is kind of hands that you can be open folding as well from the hijack. Just call. I don't really want to be 3-bet calling, and folding would be too weak. Well, looks pretty strong when he double barrels. And we also have this big blind to worry about, who can definitely have some nutty hands. I think folding here is going to be fine. Let's see if we get to showdown. At least he didn't hesitate to shove the remaining chips. let's take one 10 euro. One 10 euro game. Oh well, that is one crappy flop. Played yesterday one of those. I have won a few of the from this ongoing promotion, those 10 euro satellite tickets. Played yesterday one, I think I got like 6th, and top 4 would have gotten the 50 euro satellite ticket. Got back the same 10 euro ticket that I already had. Well, I just shoved the 8. I think shoving or calling are the best options. Folding isn't horrible, I suppose, but I think it's probably the weakest option still. And just going to check raise here with the decent trips. You can see bet in pocket nines as well, but the only downside is that if you get check raised, it's kind of nasty hands to continue, because you are actually blocking a lot of the hands that you want your opponent to have. Queen is not the greatest, but I think it's pretty rare that he has the queen, so I will actually go for value bet still, but probably shouldn't make it too big. Well, this guy is giving me pretty cheap cards, so let's see if we hit to something. Bottom 2 on the €50. These are always kind of nasty spots on the bottom left, but I'm in position to the 3 better, so let's call. And I think ace queen is strong enough that we can go for bet turn, bet flop, shove turn. And some heavy action on the outer table. Don't really like the villain turn shove. You only have top pair, so how many weaker hands am I going to be bet calling is the question. I think I actually check back here. I also split now against the weaker king X. Oh well, lucky river. And trapping on the top left. No success. That was kind of crappy turn. Oh well. There's absolutely no point in betting myself. Problem is that he can have sometimes 3x also, which he would probably play like that. Luckily he didn't bet. I might have folded. I don't know. Not sure what I would have done, but I really didn't like the spot. Well, if I open raise, I kind of have to call against the BB. I'm not sure. It's probably quite whatever if you open raise or not. Seems like that guy was drawing for the straight. Combo draw. Problem is that when I check back the preflop, I have some difficulties to represent mods, but I think it's quite unlikely that he goes for the check raise either. Let's hope that doesn't happen. And luckily he folds. Well, I'm not totally sure what would be the better option in the top right. Let's 3-bet small on the bottom left. Pretty nice. Nice blockers. Puts the open raiser into awkward situation with lot of his range. Six four seems to be working on the bottom right. Oh well, unfortunate. Two hands on the €50 top left. Oh well. Can't run good in every table. Got great hands to shove at least, but then running into dominating hand. Oh well. Let's try to semi-bluff on the bottom left. And I think I go for the shove I don't have the spade blockers either, so. Okay, he didn't believe. That happens. Turning to 2 pairs on the bottom right. And ace-5 mandatory call. Let's move one, one table. One table tier. There is 4 people in the €50 game. So it might or might not start soon. And on the bottom right, placing maximum pressure on the mid stack. Small sizing, but the stack depth is kind of problematic to be, I think, calling much either. And let's just open shove the pocket 8s. Not really hand you definitely want to be min raise inducing. Well, let's put €25 as well into registration. That's one sizable flop bet. Just take back the 6-jack. I wouldn't think that the small blind is necessarily overly wide trying to play in that hat spot, so if I start to play aggressive with all sort of garbage, it's going to be too much. At least if he's balancing, and he probably is. Ace 8. Well, let's just nick it. Let's beat the nit and fold. Okay, huge setup on the bottom left. Well, luckily it was just €10 game. Seven wasn't out. And just forward shoving on the top left, pretty standard. Pretty standard stuff. And obviously good call by the Ville on the bottom right, and well, big one. I think I still have to call the ace-5. I might be ahead. And I'm drawing to the nuts, so. But yeah, I'm not calling anymore if he bets with the a-high. And he was bluffing. limp calling on the bottom right. And flopping the nuts. Now would be nice spot to shove. Thank you. And ace, dang. That wasn't the plan. Just called on the top left, don't really want to be shoving or 3-bet folding or 3-bet calling or so on. But let's value bet here. Yeah, he might sometimes be slow playing queen, but or some overpair, but it's still going to be so strong that you kind of have to bet and hope he rolls with something, or he might have weaker jack X or something like that. Something like that. I could have checks on here as well, obviously with the second nuts, but it was really deep stacked, so I thought that it might be better to bet and hope something happens. And he hero called with the high. Well, tried to lead the turn here, but he called. Well, he had the top pair, so obviously calling. If I had had the diamond, I would have bet the river as well. This was the spot. I check called the flop because he bet really small and then like lead the turn. That changes the board quite heavily. About the donk betting turn river is that you usually want to use it mainly when the board changes in some big way, because that's also the situation when the brief of aggressor is more, or the previous street better is more likely to be checking back as well, and so on. So you can mix in some of the stronger hands that you want to get action and not check back, and then mix in some of the semi bluffs. Well, he had better king X. Well, I do block some of the flushes, but well, let's hero go down. Okay, he had it. Yeah, that was possible that he only has the Jack X that he's value betting. I think it's still strong enough. Strong enough to call sometimes, and strong in kind of too strong to be turned into bluff either. So. Well, let's use this as 3-bet fold. Oh, he was trapping. But that's the problem of trapping that sort of hand. And I just see bet stack off here. Luckily he folded. I just shoved here on the top left because, I mean, he had been limping huge amount of times and I were mainly just checking back. So I thought that making the play now and 10 should be fine. And both villains called on the top right. That turn can be really good. I think I have to call it here. He might have the queen. Sometimes maybe some check 10 of hearts, but I mean there is just such a big chance that we are splitting as well, so maybe he has like king queen sometimes. Jack 10 without heart. How fucking fishy these people can be. Got shot on a flush draw board, and he calls it against 2 opponents. Oh well. Yeah, as I said, that he's a rake, but not really that great. Basically calling and having 3 clean outs, so not that great spot. King Jack, if the button shoves, I think I have to call. So I'm not that happy about it. No ace, thank you. Oh. It's a bit messy that I moved these tables around, but I suppose for people watching it's more interesting to have 4 active tables whole visible than having like empty tables around. Yeah, a7 suited is definitely strong enough to call here. And I really don't mind if the big stack calls as well. We can then team play against this short stack. There's also a spot where you can basically call just every hand you want to play, and then you have some of the premium hands here as well for those times that the big stack happens to shove or 3-bet. And then here with around 30 pp, I'm just usually pretty happy to shove against the open raise. That is just one absurd call, but he gets here. Totally horrible call. King 8. Does he really think that he's ahead like ever? Six 3. Well, I suppose it's kind of whatever. Straight 6 wasn't good. This guy once again 3-betting. Well, I have 2 tables. Almost starting currently, so I was thinking about taking €10 game, but I think it's not necessarily good idea. Wow, queens. Well, won that flip. Do we get the double up on the upper right? Well, it seems pretty good when you see the 10x here on the flop. Great pot odds on the top left, but again 4-3 is kind of hand that, well, I suppose it's not the most horrible hand to call with those pot odds, but it does require quite specific flops to come. And ace jack is practical nuts in a way. Here on the blind versus blind. Open ender. It's non-suited. It's actually quite decent spot to shove. And I think this one is pretty nice too. Pretty nice hand to be betting again. Well, he had the king X. Well, if he had c-bet the flop, I would have probably check raised and he would have gotten my full stack, but so it's not the worst possible outcome. And yeah, I think Jack 10, well, it's pretty borderline hand. Not sure if it's in Nash, but if it is, it's going to be like absolute bottom hand. It might be that it's actually Jack 10 fold and Queen 10 call or something like that. But it's not going to be horrendous call by any means. Oh, I would have called against the bottom, but once the small blind calls as well, I think I have to fold. And I would have won the ace king, but yeah, small blind had premium stuff here. Well, I can probably fold tier for 40, so 25%. And quite get the bot odds, and it might be that I am even drawing dead sometimes. Yeah, one with the dominating hand. And kings. Hopefully some action, but I only have 10 big blind, so doing anything else than shoving with 3 somewhat wrecky players behind would be pretty questionable. Well, at least we got action, hopefully no aces at least. Actually in great shape. Totally dominating king queen and tens only having 2 outs. And now we are suddenly chip leader. Things change quickly. I think the king queen suited call is again probably a bit like if this was MTT, I think it's standard, but with some of the ICM, I think it's going to be probably a bit on the wide side. But again, kind of call that it's probably never horrible by any means. I think the ace-10 is pretty much the bottom of my calling range. Flopping in almost nuts on the top left. Not quite nuts, but practical nuts. And he folded on the bottom left, and this is such a great stack to shove that I'm probably not going to slow play. No 9, please. Well, let's just shove. I suppose min raising and calling everyone else besides the small blind would be reasonable as well. Don't really want to shove the pocket threes with almost 20 pp deep with button and 15 pp with the small blind. Well, this guy woke up, but I think he was pretty small stack, so at least we didn't lose too much here. Jack, definitely call. And we hit it. Shove with the ace king. And pocket sevens. Well, let's just give up that one. And empty sidepot on the top left, so no point to bluff. Not really hand to do it anyway. Insensible way, that is. Let's min raise. King X suited. Luckily they just fold. It seems like the 50 euro might not be starting, so let's take the 25 euro tier. And if the small blind shoves on the upper right, I would not have called with the ace 8. Jesus. misclick on the, well, it wasn't actually that horrible with the king high on the outer table. Accidentally called on the river, but it was actually checked to the river, so it was kind of reasonable. Kind of reasonable. A bit deep to shove on the top bottom left, so well, let's just fold. He can have so many value hands that he's pot controlling on the turn when the flush completes. Also didn't block the flush, so I don't think it's too relevant, but and yeah, the king queen is kind of mandatory shove. Yeah, no ace. That's the way. And yeah, I would have called against the open razor, but once the other guy comes along as well, then it's easy fold. Well, now the 50 euro actually started. Nasty, he had better hand here. Shoving just well below 10 big blinds, and turning better hand is kind of dickhead move. And we have been flopping these straights quite often today. It's usually a pretty nice thing, surprisingly. And yeah, flush draw completing, but it was kind of bad that it completed, because it's less likely that he stations any sort of pair anymore. I suppose calling is fine as well. They're a bit deepish for nice shove from the big blind, and calling is definitely fine. And this is actually sort of flop that I think it's kind of mandatory to. I think I will actually try to bluff here on the. Should be decent chance to get a good chance to get the A high to fold with king and jack here. And he hit the straight. Let's bluff on the top left. We have some backdoor stuff going on. If you want to bluff something on those situations, you definitely want to have at least some sort of possibility to turn the equity. And went for the raise against the limper on the heads up. Now this was actually 50 euro. Don't focus that much on the buy-ins usually. It's kind of irrelevant basically. Most of the time. And just checking with the weak medium pair here. The outer table trying to bluff in 4-way pot on the turn, having the combo draw, but unfortunately I missed, so let's just give up. Can't value that here on the bottom right. Such stupid bluff once again. Not really having anything to go along outside of 2 overcards, and he didn't even have. He only had 4 outs actually. With the this kind of that, do you want to just call on the bottom right or just shove and go with it? Well, decent flopping the straight. Today seems to be like some extreme run good. Extreme run good going on. Yeah, definitely checking back on the flop tier. Once he checks, it's almost free roll to bet. Of course, he might sometimes be tricky with some sort of 8x or something. But hopefully we don't face check raise. But it was split pot. Didn't get the chance to shove. I will shove on the outer table for 3 limpers and I only have 15 BP, so it's pretty nice risk reward. Now I lost the whole table and everyone folded, it seems. Okay, lost that heads up. And yeah, just check calling. This is actually a guy that was bluffing, I think, previously as well on a very similar situation. Well, now we actually have kind of nuts. So I think it's going to be better to check raise if he bets and hope that he overplays something. I think the possibility of that is going to be higher than the possibility that he actually has better hand. And he again had basically absolutely nothing. Unfortunately didn't bet the river anymore. I can actually move it here. We have got 5 out of 8 on the major challenge now. Actually, surprisingly much. I will check here. It's nice to have some of these weaker part of the top pairs in your checking range, especially when you have this sort of bluff happy guy behind who might get crazy. And now we have clear call here. Snap call. Also, just as off-topic side note, it seems like Doug Polk has again started to post those hand analyzing videos and shots. Those are quite funny to watch, and also has pretty good content usually. This time we didn't suck out on the bottom left. It's pretty standard shove overall. You can also leap, of course. It's fine either way. Going to bet here. Hopefully he doesn't raise. It would be kind of awkward situation. A bit less than 30 pp. I think limp shoving would be kind of reasonable option. Well, he didn't fold. It's probably not betting 5x that often here. That might be quite borderline call on the top left. It still has decent flop playability, so, and also not that easily dominated by the hijack open range, so open range. Let's 3-bet here on the upper left, upper right, I mean. Kind of decent flop for our hand. Kind of decent turn as well. Let's actually check here as balance. I think Tony often bets quite wide in these spots in general. He doesn't, so I don't know. Shoving might be reasonable, but I think he doesn't have absolutely great hands when he checks back that often. And if he has, he probably shoves. So I think I try to go for a bit smaller and get some 10x more often to call, maybe. And he had something. Blah. Oh well, calling king jack off against the 3-bet. I think it's pretty loose overall. That was annoying stuff. Annoying stuff. Hitting the snuts and Willen having same hand. Oh well. Oh well. So this guy was making 4 bets. Let's go for delayed c-bet on the upper right. Well, that didn't work out. This sort of hand is very standard to call against a 3-bet because you have way more playability with the suited hand. And I think here we just want to probably bet flop and shove the turn. He might sometimes be trapping with something or slow playing, but I think there is decent chance that he calls it down with some pocket tens or jacks or shots. So if we want to semi-bluff here some portion of time with some spade draws, then I think we also need to shove that as value. Oh Jesus! Fuck you! Oh yeah. Such bullshit. Such bullshit. Three outer. Oh well, some run pad as well. That was also a huge pot in 50 euro game, so it was quite a few euros. Quite a few euros in that one. Well, still some chances to get back. Pocket fives will likely be all in on the top left, unless there is some heavy action. I think against single opponents, I probably don't have much of fold equity, but it's still kind of mandatory to shove. Maybe he folds once in a while as well. 5, no, 16 times the pot. Okay, that's one way to play the hand. I probably have the best hand because the big blind seems to be thinking about it on the upper right. Or he's making some great slow play. I think suited king I will shove as well, though it's going to be quite borderline, but is he planning to take the gate with every hand or something? That was a nasty hand. King Queen versus King Jack. Chance to get into huge chip leader in the bubble. And then crushed by the river. Well, rivers can be nasty sometimes also, but ace then obviously snap call and jack on the turn. Oh well. Seems to be a nice day. Running good amount of 25 and 50 euros. Yeah, I think in this side, this 6 table is already kind of decent amount. I have played 7 and 8 tables as well, but I think 7 is fine, but with the 8 it starts to be a bit hectic, at least for me. And then when you have the chance that you end up with like 3 heads ups running, and then a couple three-handed and so on. So then if you mix in with few beginning games and so on, it can become quite tough to handle without any third party support tools. And once again I flopped it straight on the outer table. Unfortunately no c-bet, but let's see if we get any action. Well, Villain calls the turn. Plus draw completes, but it's somewhat unlikely he has one. There is decent chance that he has the AX, so let's make sizable bet. Oh, he raised. Well, I think I have to call, but and he has the king high flush. Oh well, flopping the straight is not always ending with happy ending. Well, now at least I have the nuts. Of course he might have like king queen of diamonds. That would be quite unfortunate. And no flush. And yeah, I just check here on the flop because I really don't want to get the check raised here. And I also have some showdown value, so now getting raised on the flop I'll just call and hope there is no heart. Basically allow the maximum possibility for him to be bluffing, and if he has weaker queen X, we get to, most of the time we get chance to check raise river anyway. Though when he had the weak pair, of course it's possible that he would have gone crazy if I had just 3-bet the flop and so on. I think here, once the flop goes check, I kind of need to bet turn shove river. Oh well. Yeah, he was slow playing this time. I didn't really like the flop, that's why I checked it. Unfortunately, no diamond on the river. Just that I think on that board, if he had like 2 pair or something like that, he would really often bet the flop. So I think Jack 10 is probably might be even the only better hand he has here as played. That was nasty river for the ace jack guy. 4-5 suited. I think it's pretty probably quite close overall. So I have like 300 to call for. I think it's probably fine to go with this hand. Flush draw, but couldn't connect with it. Giving hope, but not giving anything else. Oh well. Well, that went into worse quite quick. Let's try to semi-bluff on the upper right. Almost straight, but not quite. Just fold. There is some chance that the villain has full house as well here. Plus there's also flush draw, so it will decrease my equity also. Yeah, I had quite a lot of equity here. At least on that particular, where my 4 and 5 are alive as well. Okay, can't really stack off with the 7s. So, now they probably shove and I can't call. Do we flop straight flush? Almost. Almost. Pocket 7's not really hand I want to. Try any trapping stuff. And he subs. I think 7's is a bit too weak to stack off here. And would have won the whole thing. But yeah, I think it's probably a bit too weak. Though it's pretty close, but not sure. Awesome shove. I mean, totally horrendous. Absolutely unnecessary. And he won. Oh, Jesus. Okay. That's the way. I somehow read that I hit the pair, but yeah, I didn't. But there's absolutely no need to shove that sort of hand. Really, really standard call. But of course, the fish requis gets rewarded. How else? How else? And we get the nuts on the upper left. Call. Kind of nice hand, because if there is also like flush draw completing, it would have been nice hand to nice hand to shove as bluff. Awesome turn bet, king 5. Like you only have around 500 better. 500 better. It's just pretty much pretty nasty to call anyway. Do I down value as well? And it's unlikely he's folding to single bet anyway, and so I decided to just take the passive line and I can basically call because I had the combo draw, so I can basically call. But of course it doesn't complete. Seems like the run good has made the turn around. Well, Queen Jack is meant. Oh well. And he hit the straight. So 7 is just screw you card. If this dropped frames, but it's not really that much. It's just that when you only have the, or your main connection is 4G wire, that it doesn't disconnect completely basically ever, but or almost ever, but it's just that there is some hiccups like with the streaming stuff and so on. Again, I guess random guy, I was going to bet the turn and check the river and give him the possibility to be bluffing, at least if the spade doesn't complete. Aces. Yep. Yeah, I think these are going to be the last games for this session. Queen 9 is going to be good enough as suited. Do we run into aces? Yep. Well, he actually won this time. I was jokingly saying it, but it seems like it actually happened. Yeah, I need to call the H unless the small blind gets along. Oh well. I think it's going to be fine to call. Quite pretty close to the bottom of the range, but should be fine. I won't have any fold equity anyway, so maybe they sometimes fold both on the blinds and I get some extra from them. 3 outer. Well, I hit the flop with the dominated hand, but yeah. let's take one more. 50 euro seems to be starting right away. I will see bet on the bottom left with the backdoor nut flush draw and pretty dry flop as well. I think it's fine to bet. Now is the time to give up. Can't really call third barrel. I think there is no need to call, in my opinion. Well, currently there is 225 euros in the games, so I have some decent profits so far. Went for like 3-bet on the outer table because of the big blind sitting out, which will probably increase the villain open race range somewhat. Hetken. I think this was it. Well, totally sure if I think the blinds just wasn't updated on the. It was actually big blind. I was just thinking that was it, that I was the big blind, and yeah, I was the big blind. Okay, because I was first going to shove it here. Then I noticed that okay, is this the classical situation that I'm going to be shoving against the. Well, that 9 was bad for him. And I'm sitting out in couple tables. Well, I don't think I missed any, or at least more than one hand or something. pretty dry flop on the bottom left, so let's just try to stab once and give up pretty much. The upper right ace-5 is actually pretty nice hand to bluff against here. We don't block any of his possible semi-bluffs. And on the top left trying to just check the showdown, but not with that river obviously. Now we have kind of close to nuts actually. Pretty weird that he doesn't bet the river. Really strong top pair. And I'm going to be checking like almost always here. Once he checks the river. Well, not always, but very often anyway. Well, it's pretty busy play to be checking here. And bubble on the bottom right, pocket threes. Kind of awkward hand, but I think I just probably have to shove. His range should be really wide here in raising as clear chip leader. And still I'm not like in the situation that I should be just be extremely tight and hope that the shorter stack drops out, because he still has 12 pp. So. And on the outer table, definitely calling here. Most of time trips is not played like this. And he has total air. With hands that should be pretty clear check call overall. That was solid play. Solid play here. Well, pocket sevens will be. Again, I think it's just best to shove. Of course, it's a bit risky too, but I think I just fold here. He will be probably raising quite often, and in a way, 9 queen is decent hand to be calling, but on that specific bubble situation, I'm not really too eager about it. This guy makes 4 pp raise, but I think this is just too solid hand to be folded right away. And 4-bet shoved, ace king suited on the outer table. But will then folded. Just taking passive lines here for pot control. Well, decent shape on the upper right. 6s versus 6 2s off. And we actually get split pot. That's the way. That's the way. I don't know, maybe took a bit too safe line on the outer table. I had bet 2 streets with the ace queen. I was thinking about triple barrel. There was still a jack and 9 on the board against tricky player who called from the small blind, but at the same time there was also big blind sitting out, so I kind of thought that he might be a bit more eagerly calling the third barrel as well because of this situation in tier, but yeah. Well, let's go for smallish sizing on the river, hoping that he calls with some 2 pairs. Well, split pot. That was unfortunate. Interesting spot on the bottom right. I think I just take passive line with this one. I think he might be trying to bluff decently often here. It's pretty scary looking board against any sort of... I probably think that I need to raise, especially against that sizing. Don't shove. I don't know about that because it's like when I raised here it does look pretty strong as well, so not sure how much, but yeah, he might have even some 2 pairs and probably might be calling with those at least, so but I don't know, it does look like pretty strong move in that specific situation with the bubble and so on, me being middle stack. Well, let's go with the shove. Hope that big blind doesn't wake up. And ace queen is again just shoving hand. It's pretty close, I suppose, on the I don't know, that's fault. Not sure, it's pretty close here. With the suited hand. I think on the top left we just need to shove and hope he doesn't have better one. He might be hero it or call it down with 10x as well. I would usually defend on the upper left, but I don't know, middle stack raising here, so tends to give a bit more credit. 7-8 we can drop fold as well with that stack situation. We are now in the heads up. Run into something here. I think I opened here because the small blind had been so passive so far that he probably doesn't shove that wide. Obviously on the bottom right, going to barrel. Barrel here. Don't fold. Don't fold. Well, we got lucky here on the top left. Not as it's actually split spots, you know, yeah. Well, that should actually be quite often split spot. The other table I will 3-bet shove with the bottom sitting out and middle stack min raising here. I think I guess 4x it's kind of meh to call on that king 5, but I think with suited hand it's still going to be a bit tight to be limp folding either. Trying to check raise on the bottom right. And we sucked out on the outer table. Again, same situation, Will lane min raising, and I shove with ace-5 suited, and he has the queens, but I suck out with the flush. Ace-9, obviously raise calling, and winning that one. That's again kind of hands that, like in my book, it's pretty unnecessary to be making any shoves, but everyone with their way of playing, I suppose. We need to be value betting, so it can be kind of thin, because it also does complete this, some straight draw, some flush draws, so I don't know if I can get any. Well, some deuce X we might get to fold at least. Let's try, at least we don't block the hearts, which is better. Better thing will be 3-bet calling the king queen. And we lost the flipped here. So we have 50 euro and 25 euro games left. Well, now the board looks a bit better on the top left, but not against that. Not against that bet. Yeah, I couldn't value bet here really on the river with the 6x having the straight. And of course villain can sometimes have like trips and such also. And not folding a7 and can't get anything. Oh well. So close, so close. So close. I think I 3-bet shove this one. I like to mix sometimes these suited connector type hands. Has decent equity if called and can get huge amount of better hands to fold. More often I will tend to call with those, but I think sometimes shoving is nice option. And obviously with the king high, just trying to get to showdown. Not really much trap hands. Not really much trap hands to limp with. Nine ten is just too strong to be limp folded, too weak to be limp called. it was actually pot size bet. Well, it's true that there is a lot of busted draws, and AX is somewhat unlikely, so I call, hero call here. And king high is the nuts this time. This time. Great equity for me, and we won that one. King 7 will definitely be plus EV to shove. Not really hand I want to be inducing anything either. Now, no king, and we won. Nice, 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 nice. 9 queen is actually, I think it's in Nash at least. Well, yeah, let's go with it. This 4x has been pretty standard for this guy, so I don't think it means that he necessarily has the strong hand. Though this time he had, but luck boxing is the best way. So yeah, that was the session this time. It went pretty great. I think we got a bit below 400 profit. Middle part looked a bit somewhat nasty, but luckily it went better on the ending. But yeah, I might be streaming again on the Saturday or Sunday. But yeah, if you liked the content on this one, please click the like button, and you can of course give any feedback on the comments, questions, whatever. But that was for it today. Thank you for watching, and good luck on your own stuff. Bye for now.